I'm going to give it just a minute or two. We're going to let a few more folks join us, and then we'll get things kicked off. And thanks to everybody who's hopping on. I'll give it like 30 more seconds, let a few more people join, and then we'll get started. All right, thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. This is ITMs and RFAs, everything mechanical and plumbing contractors need to know. We've got Blair from BIMTM here, who is a mechanical expert, has worked in the field, as well as Seth Greenlund, Evolve's product manager for the Evolve mechanical product. And they are here today to give you the rundown on ITMs and RFAs. So as a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and we'll forward the recording to all registrants. And you can find all of the Evolve webinar recordings on the Evolve MEP YouTube channel. So make sure you're following us there and on our social media channels to keep up with the latest resources and Revit tips. And if you have any questions during our presentation, please use the Q&A function in your Zoom toolbar. And if we have time at the end, we will take a few questions. All right, and with that, I will hand it off to Seth and Blair to get us started.
Hi, everyone. We're going to start it off with ITMs. What are ITM files? They're a proprietary file format used by Autodesk. So what that means is it's CAD MEP, CAD fabrication, all of those tools, and bringing those databases into Revit. And how ITM files work in BIM workflows, their functionality in CAD and Revit environments work together to get all of that data that you had in CAD fabrication into Revit, using all of that fabrication specifications and all of the backend data on ITMs. So the limitations of ITM files within Revit, there's a slight compatibility issues within Revit. Versioning and updating has its issues with having to update within CAD MEP. Lost our slide here. But yeah, it has issues within Revit. Not one is better than the other as far as RFAs and ITMs. But ITM actually has a lot more strong suit in the fabrication end of things.
There we go. And so to talk a little bit about just what is the RFA portion of things. RFAs are the Revit file format for Autodesk Revit. It's the native file format referred to as a family. So it can represent pretty much anything, various things in the building, such as windows, doors, pipes, equipment, furniture, or other parts of a structure. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that and why the RFA is that way. But kind of touching on the first key feature of the RFA, the flexibility in design. Like that first point says, it could represent literally anything in our built environment. In our case, probably going to be more like valves, pipe elbows, tees, strainers, nuts and bolts. Any of those things could have a family built for it and have the associated data such as material, finish, and size can also be linked to that actual Revit RFA. So that ties right into the ability to contain parametric information and metadata. The physical part of the fitting is really only a small part of the information that it can carry. A generic depiction of a bolt set, for example, could contain other information to convey things like size of the bolt, length of the bolt, material, and how many of the bolts there are within that bolt set. But it may just be depicted as a simple ring. And then compatibility with Revit's tools for scheduling. Filtering, filtering, tagging are one of the really nice things about RFAs. Because you have the flexibility to design them pretty much any way you want, you're able to keep the parameters between fittings consistent so they report consistently. Anybody who's tried to build a schedule with RFAs or ITMs, depending on where they came from, has probably realized that the size column for one fitting or the size for one fitting might be a different field for another fitting. So keeping the keeping those sorts of things consistent is important. Limitations of RFAs. One of the downsides actually can be that flexibility that an RFA gives. They can become quite complex, and the more you add to them, like when you add things like lookup tables and different types into the mix, RFAs can become incredibly difficult to manage. And because of that, there's a very, very steep learning curve in creating Revit families. So if you're familiar with modeling, 3D modeling in other Autodesk products, creating a base RFA really isn't too difficult. It's very similar across AutoCAD, Fusion 360, and things like that. It's very similar to how you start to create a 3D geometry, but learning how to make it parametric steps it up to just the next level. All right, next one here. Okay, so talking a little bit about the file structure and data content. One second here, there we go. So obviously, other than having two different file extensions, there are a number of key differences that set the two formats apart. RFAs carry more of the information within the actual file RFA. Dimensions, ancillary information like material and other various parameters that I previously mentioned, they're all contained within the RFA file. ITMs can also carry a lot of that information, but often rely on external data sources such as product information or MapProd, if you're familiar with ITMs, pricing and labor tables, ancillary information. A lot of that stuff is actually referenced outside of the ITM. RFAs can also reference external data sources, but do tend to carry more within the item. So that brings to the next point here, performance and scalability. Because of what I just mentioned in the previous point, I think it's a common thing to believe that RFAs are quote unquote heavier than ITMs and could slow a model down. This can be true, but I don't think it's necessarily the reason that a lot of people think that it might be slowing it down. You could have a model or a project with 500 ITMs and another project with 500 RFAs, the same design, 90 for 90, T for T. One may be slower or feel more kind of bogged down than the other. That's not necessarily because of the number of items in the project. It tends to have more to do with the number of parameters associated with each. So since RFAs are more customizable, they tend to have more parameters. So keeping that in mind too when you're building out your database or your content can be helpful.
And that's where we get into compatibility between the two. ITM and RFAs are used as a mixed media and can be used as mixed media between the two. If you are using ITMs, it is almost necessary to use some RFAs in your design. And same with RFA, their compatibility is really good with Revit parts in general. So you got your architectural RFAs and stuff. Those parts can then host to those pieces where an ITM cannot. And then we go into ease of use. RFAs versus ITMs. When you're building out a large model, like he said, with the performance and scalability, if it's too large of a model, ITMs tend to work a little better because of the less parameters, but it could go either way as far as that goes, depending on how much data is within each of those pieces. Next slide. And then we got benefits and use cases for ITM files. Prefabrication MVP projects. ITMs streamline prefabrication, creating more accurate models for fabrication and installation. This is true because it uses real fitting data from manufacturers. Therefore, you can get accurate cut lists for your prefabrication. Detailed MEP coordination, same thing, using the right parts and pieces from the manufacturer in those ITMs and coordinating accordingly to those, you'll have a much more coordinated system. And then faster detailing and fabrication. As long as you have everything set up, predefined connectors, materials, parts and sizes lead to more efficient workflows. That's as long as your database is set up great. For RF or working in Revit, it can be really quick and seamless. And then the seamless integration with fabrication tools. With ITMs, you can directly export to an MAJ file, which is directly can be used with CAM and your automation shop tools, such as like Tiger Saws and CAM software. Next slide, thank you.
Next one. All right, and to look at the other format here, benefits and use cases for RFA files. Parametric modeling is one of the huge ones here. Parametric modeling allows for a much more connected project. Each element in the project it can be connected to another in some way. Excuse me. It could be a physical connection, like two fittings welded together. So, you know, a 90, a weld, and maybe a T or a piece of pipe. So physically connected together. But that connection between other objects can also be things like flow calculation between two fittings or the rest of the system. You could take it one step further, and you can also link cut sheets to those fittings or reference material specifications. So again, just the connectivity with the parametric ability with RFAs and ITMs to an extent, but RFAs being extremely parametric when it comes to all things in the project. Data rich for project lifecycle. Because of the parametric modeling, it allows for a much or for extremely detailed schedules to help you determine how many of an object are maybe in a given space in a building. You know, how many registers or diffusers do I have on floor number 1? You know, you could very quickly make a schedule to find that out. Let's see, or a hanger schedule. That's this is a really important one. A hanger schedule that'll allow you to actually fabricate material takeoffs for or sorry, a schedule that will allow you to actually fabricate that hanger. So you think about a trapeze style hanger, or maybe a unistrut hanger, you have the bearer or the actual unistrut, and you have a number of washers or nuts and bolts. You can specify what thread pitch and rod size you need, and that all can be accessed directly from the RFA in a Revit schedule. Material takeoffs for ordering materials. For a job site or in the shop, it's another big one that you would want to use schedules for, and also building performance analysis to help during the engineering phase in designing a mechanical system to make sure that it's the right size for the space. Large scale BIM projects with multidisciplinary teams. Revit in general is just a great platform for collaboration. Not necessarily, you know, ITM or RFA here, just in general, due to its ability to link models and still reference what is in those linked models. You know, if you think back to the AutoCAD days, you know, you would XREF things in, but you didn't necessarily have full access to what items and RF or what objects were in the XREF items. So linked models are hugely powerful with Revit in general. And then also the ability to work share allows multiple people across multiple disciplines to all be working on a project at the same time. Again, just a much better collaboration experience. The fourth one here, native Revit components. I think we've all probably heard this one quite a bit, but because RFAs are native to Revit. They do tend to work a little bit more seamlessly with schedules and other tools and connections to other items, right? So there's just some limitations with ITMs there. Let's see here. So Evolve has created some great tool sets to pull hidden data out of ITMs, but native Revit RFAs allow that information to be accessed more readily. And then advanced scheduling and data integration. Rounding out that point about parametric data and the ability to schedule the data, stakeholders need all of the information to be available at their fingertips. I mean, after all, the whole reason that we put all of this information into the designs is so that we can get it out. Otherwise, we wouldn't spend so much time, dwelling on the smallest detail. So RFAs just allow for easier access to some of that data, so you're able to get it out to the right stakeholders easily. And yeah, that's it for that one.
Great. We do have a couple of questions here that I'd love to throw at you guys. So it says, is there any chance RFAs will be getting more hanger types and Evolve's hanger placing tool? That's a great question.
That is an excellent question. Yeah, so I'll take that one. Yes, so right now, as you point out, we have the Clevis style hangers, our ITMs. We just for 8.0, which actually we just did our preview release. It's available on the website right now. I think we're officially launching next week. We'll be including in this release, I think 10 or so Clevis roller gripple style hangers for in RFAs. They don't work directly with our hanger tool yet. That's coming in 8.2, which is fast approaching as well. But yeah, if you download the 8.0 preview release right now from our website and take a look at the family browser, you'll see all of the new hangers in there.
Awesome. And do you maybe just want to take a sec, Seth, to mention maybe some of the other RFA and ITM content we have in addition to the hangers?
Yeah, so ITM hanger or ITM content, we offer a full library with the Evolve Origin database. I'm working on a big update on that right now, so it should be right around the time of, well, targeted for next week. I'll have all new content for Nibco, Charlotte, Victaulic, and Viega, so all updated out of the latest catalogs. Updated the map prod to match and Harrison codes embedded within the product tables or yeah. So that's one more thing, and we're constantly adding more content on the RFA side as well. So again, this one was a big one for hangers, but I believe there's a few new equipment types in there for RFAs in the family browser as well. So again, if everybody wants to go out and download the 8.0 release, check out what the new families are. You'll see quite a few new ones in there.
Excellent. And we got another question here asking, can ITMs and RFAs be used together? Are there any file compatibility issues?
I could take that one.
Great.
I kind of touched on that in the earlier in the slide.
Mhm.
And as an ITM user, you use a mixed media between the two. You definitely use the two. Personally, I use all of my equipment as RFAs, and all of my pipe fittings and all accessories are going to be ITMs.
Yeah, I see the same thing. I always say during demos, people, and this topic comes up a lot. If you're an RFA shop or RFA workflow, you're probably not using ITMs, but if you're using ITMs, you are also using RFAs. It's kind of just
Hangers,
the truth.
it can go either way. I mean, more is being built in the RFA hanger side. But right now, ITM hangers work great with ITM parts.
Great. Arnard asks, where can we find the Evolve ITM library?
Yes, it is on the Foresight web page. So Evolve Foresight. I can post a link here in a minute. get logged in. It's a little bit tricky to find, to be honest. Kind of have it buried. So give me just a second here to find where that is.
Yep, great.
I see Ty was asking an evolve specific question now.
Oh,
If you want to touch on that, he's asking if the RFA hangers will cut in on the ITM fab parts.
oh, got it. Yes, it will in the 8.2 release. So right now it's just the RFA hangers. Now the trapeze style hangers, those will work on ITM pipe and duct, but the single type, the clevis style hangers aren't cutting in with the tools just yet.
And then another question here about gripple hangers. Will those be fixed, the gripple hangers for duct?
Yes, yeah, we've done a lot of work on those. Now you say fixed. Let's see here. Maybe I'll need to know specifically what was wrong. If have you communicated that to Lucas or the support department at all? I guess I'm not familiar with two hangers. Your point's not one. Oh, okay. I'll have to get with Lucas on that one.
Great.
Find out what's going on there.
And yeah, I love that you're bringing this up because at Evolve, we are incredibly dedicated to building content that is specific to our customers' needs. You tell us you have a project, you need X, Y, and Z for it, give us enough heads up and we will absolutely work with your team to help you meet all of your goals and make building projects as easy as possible. So thanks for bringing that one up. All right, and if there's any last questions, push them through now. For the person asking about the ITM library, if we don't grab that link in a second here, I'll absolutely make sure to follow you up with you via email.
I just found it, so I'm putting the link in the chat here. Let me make sure. Is this going to go to everyone? So here's a link. So you'll need to sign in, and at the top there's a little downloads icon, and there's a download for Evolve sample files and Evolve origin. So you can go ahead and use that. Also on our product page here, I'll also post this in our help documentation. This is a link to the kind of the how-to or the help doc on downloading and implementing the origin database.
Fantastic. All right, Seth and Blair, thank you so much for today's presentation, and thank you to our wonderful audience for joining. We hope that you found this information valuable. Please check us out if you're not already an Evolve customer. We offer an incredible library of ITM and RFA content to help you, keep your projects on time and under budget. And of course, reach out to Blair and the team over at BIMTM for all of your Revit training and Revit supplement needs. Those guys are great, and we are proud to partner with them. Thank you again, everybody, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.
All right, thanks.